Hello everybody, welcome to OriginalContentHD and welcome to another Jumputi Heroes video. It's been a while since we made a Jumputi Heroes video, and truth be told, this isn't really a Jumputi Heroes video. It's actually a video on Jumputi Heroes 2. Which obviously you know is not real, that's not a thing. But there is a new game coming out. There is a new game, and it is called Shonen Jump Plus Jumble Rush. Now, this was announced out of nowhere about like a week or so ago. It was a while ago. And this game, at first glance, I mean, it kind of looked like Jumputi 2. I mean, if we look at the key visual, it kind of looks like Jumputi to me. I mean, look at the sprites. I mean, that's the big heads and the staying fairly true to the sort of style of the original anime for each of the characters. Kind of looks like it, right? It kind of does. But no, this is not Jumputi Heroes 2. And in today's video, we're going to sort of be talking about what looks good, maybe what looks bad, what we can expect from this game, and I mean, well, there's a lot to it. There really is a lot to it. But let's start off, I guess, with the trailer. So, obviously a lot to sort of dig into there, but we're kind of going to get through it as we go through the video, so I'm not going to jump straight onto that. Let's start off, you can see on the screen right here, Bandai Namco. This is a Bandai Namco game. Well, Jumputi wasn't a Bandai Namco game, and that's correct. Let's actually look at some of the sort of lineage of the Jump games, first and foremost. So, the first game, Weekly Shonen Jump Ore Collection, which some of you may remember dearly, and others will say, what's that? And I mean, to be fair, it's been a while. Weekly Shonen Jump was the first big Shonen Jump collaboration ensemble gacha game. It had cards instead of the little, like, dudes that Jumputi had. And this game was produced by Bandai Namco, or what's the right word? Is produced the right word? It was commissioned by Bandai Namco. I don't know. They were the directing influence, I guess. They were the, let's say, producers. I think producer is right. It was produced by Bandai Namco, and it was distributed by Bandai Namco. But it was actually developed by a company called Dracom, which that name may be familiar to you, or it may not. I'm sure you will be familiar with the game One Piece Treasure Cruise. Dracom made One Piece Treasure Cruise. They are active developers on One Piece Treasure Cruise and a number of other games. If you go on their website, you'll see loads of games on there, some of which I didn't even know existed. But they worked on Weekly Shonen Jump Ore Collection. Now, in terms of upsides and downsides, any game that is being published by Bandai Namco, there is a very real chance that they're not really going to give it the same opportunity that maybe some other producers would. And what I mean by that is, they've got their big hitters. They've got their Dokkan Battles and their One Piece Treasure Cruises. These games that feel like they can go on almost infinitely and just print money. Like, they don't need to do anything. Just let the devs do their thing, let them pump out content, and money will come. Not a problem. But for games that maybe don't necessarily get off the ground in the same way, especially for titles like Ore Collection, which was a Japan exclusive. It never got out of Japan. It's a bit of an issue. And I mean, look, it's understandable Ori Collection never got out of Japan because there are a lot of complicated rights issues with global distribution, which was also a problem for Jumputi Heroes, although that did get a release, at least in the traditional Chinese language, outside of Japan. But I think that was similar sort of thing where it didn't get to the point where it was global. They called that the global version with Jumputi, but it wasn't. It reached 1 or 2 countries. That's it. So Ori Collection, just remember that. Published by Bandai Namco, or produced by Bandai Namco, and made by Dracom. Jumputi Heroes was developed by a company called Wonder Planet, and it was produced by Line. Now, Line had its issues as well. Obviously, it gave Jumputi Heroes a bit more breathing room than Bandai Namco gave to Ori Collection, because the game went on for almost 6 years. And a lot of content in that time. Obviously, things got patchy towards the end. Obviously, there was a bit of a lack of communication regarding the situation with the rights to the series. And I think that's another thing, Line were the ones that had to procure the rights for all these characters from Shueisha for Wonder Planet to use in the game. And so this is the same thing with Dracom and Bandai Namco. Bandai Namco would have been the one arranging the rights. We know Bandai Namco have probably much more consistent relationship with Shueisha, considering they use tons of Shueisha properties. And with Jumputi and with Line, I mean, they did pretty well. It's like the most... I think they hold the world record for the most different series featured in a game, I believe. They have some kind of world record like that. And I mean, it's crazy. The amount of different characters featured is just nuts. So Line sort of facilitated that, but obviously when the rights expired, I think they got a renewal. I think at some point they got a renewal on the rights, but as the game came towards an end, they didn't get a renewal on the rights. The game's dead. That's it. Job done. The death of a gacha game. This is how it happens. It can live and die with just how the producer handles things, or if the rights holders just tell them no. And so it's gone. And we were thinking, well, why did the rights holders say no? I mean, this game was generally making money. It was profitable. Why would the rights holders care? And the theory was, well, maybe, Shueisha have their own dev studio. Maybe they want to make the game. Or maybe, maybe they've got someone else to make a game. Well, maybe they have. Because Bandai Namco is going to be producing the new game, Jumble Rush. But the developers will still be Wonder Planet. So it's a bit strange. We have confirmed this. It is on the Wonder Planet website. They will be the developers of this new game. And I mean, it's pretty obvious based on what you can see in the trailer. But, I still thought, oh, maybe not, until it was officially confirmed. And I was like, well, okay, so this is what we're working with. Now, I do think Dracom did a fantastic job with Ori Collection, but there was a problem of content scheduling. There was a problem with, I mean, even just stuff like the sales packs were basically never good value. So it's like, why is anyone gonna buy it then? And I mean, there were a lot of issues. And then when it switched over to Jump Tyson Ori Collection 2. Absolute mess. That was one of the worst things I've ever seen. I knew the game was dead the second the trailer came out. I couldn't believe it. And the amount of waiting in between the end of Ori Collection 2, or Ori Collection 1 and the start of Ori Collection 2, it was ridiculous. So I had my problems with Dracom, to say the least. And I mean, I've played One Piece Treasure Cruise, and I have my problems with Dracom on One Piece Treasure Cruise as well. So, it's... I'm more happy with Wonder Planet as a developer, because we had some good times with Jumputi Heroes, and well, here we are. Now, obviously, we can talk about gameplay a little bit later, because we've got some more to look at. But yeah, it is looking a little bit questionable compared to Jumputi Heroes. But we'll see how that goes. In terms of having Bandai Namco as the publisher, I do think Bandai Namco has produced some good games over the years. They've chosen the right developers, and they've got the ball rolling on a lot of good projects. But they've also killed a lot of projects. Like, they don't fuck about. You got a year or two to start pumping out money, or you are out of here. And so I think I maybe prefer Line in that regard. But then Line had its issues. We had issues with, like, they were forcing us to use the Line connection feature, which didn't work properly. And people just lost their accounts. All it took was one wrong button press, and your account was gone. And you had to, like, message their support and hope they got back to you and stuff. And it was terrible. And I know some people will say, oh, well, you know, it was you're English. You just read the screen wrong. And if you were Japanese, you wouldn't have read the screen wrong. And you would have kept your account. But it happened to Japanese players too. It happened to, like, people on the stream said it happened to them. Like, the hosts of the stream, the people they got into, they're like, yeah, I mean, I lost my account doing that, so I had to get a new one. And like the fact that they're saying that is crazy, but it is true. And they knew it was a problem, and they were trying to do something about it, and they never did something about it. They never properly fixed it. So Lion has its issues as well. To be honest, Wonder Planet Bandai Namco, it's an interesting team up. I would definitely say it's at very least interesting. So now that we know that it's Wonder Planet, let's look at some similarities, because there is one singular character that appears in both games, and that is Lycopin, the Tomatoey Poodle. This is the this is the only character that appears in both Jumputi Heroes and Jumble Rush. And you know, the screenshot we have for Jumble Rush is not quite as high res as the one we have for Jumputi Heroes, because obviously the Jumputi Heroes one is ripped straight from the game's files. So not exact, but looking at them, they look very similar. But as you can see, I've included an image at the bottom here that kind of shows what the character looks like originally, and there's not a lot of wiggle room. So the character looking similar, well, of course it's going to look similar, but that's because the character was already sort of a chibi. This is the worst character for us to have as like a comparison, because it already kind of looks like that. One of the things you might notice, the brown outline. Now, the brown outline is something that was common in Jumputi Heroes. Almost every character had a brown outline, except for like a couple of the My Hero Academia ones, like All Might. Almost all of them had this like weird brownish outline, and this is why comparing this is kind of a problem. Lycopin already had the brownish outline on the original character design, so you can't really tell, but the brown outline is kind of gone. It's here on this image of Lycopin, but when we look at other characters later, you will see that it is a thicker, darker outline. You can kind of see it around Lycopin on the right here, that thicker, darker outline. And that's going to be, there's just going to be none of this brown outline on other characters. It's only for the characters from this series, because that's the way the artist did it. In terms of the actual differences in the sprite, they are different. While they do look so similar, if you look at them closely, they are genuinely different. They didn't just rip it straight from Jumputi Heroes and use it again, which is good. And I mean, looking at the UI and some of the music they used and stuff, I don't think they're reusing assets here. I think this is all new stuff, unless, you know, maybe some of these characters they originally made for Jumputi and they never got released, in which case, you know, maybe they reuse some of that stuff. I don't know. But you can see here, Lycopin actually does look different. Looking closer at the details, I mean, for a start, there's this sort of like shading, this like white, kind of like as if the sun is shining on him, which is not present in the original Jumputi Heroes one. There's also these weird little dots. I don't know if that's something that's going to be present in the actual game. I haven't taken a close enough look, or whether that's just something for the website. But that's there, that's different. And there are some finer details that are slightly different if you look closer. But yeah, basically this was the worst character possible to be the only one that appears in both games because I don't know. It is what it is. This is what we have to work with. Now there are certain characters where it's like that artist's work has appeared elsewhere. And in Jumputi Heroes, which we can maybe look at, we can maybe talk about a little bit later. But that doesn't really make for an easy comparison, unfortunately. None of this does. But similarities are there. Everybody can see it for themselves. Similarities are there. And I think it'll become more apparent as we walk through the different characters being added to the game. Now, there are 51 characters. I'm going to say 50. We'll talk about the potential one when we get there. But there is at least 50 characters announced for the game so far, which is not bad for a base roster. And the series they've picked, they're almost all like the most popular series from Jump Plus. And what I mean by that is because I mean there are other series which we can. I've made a whole list. We're going to go for a whole list later. But every series here is not only a Shonen Jump Plus exclusive series, or at least it's currently a Shonen Jump Plus exclusive series. It might have started in another magazine or something. But they all have an anime except for one, which is this series you see right in front of you. So, like a Pet Tomato Poodle is the only one that doesn't have an anime. All the rest have an anime. So, let's just start going through the series. Let's just start going through them. And we're going to start off with Aharen-san is Indecipherable. I haven't watched this one, but I've seen it everywhere. I believe it's on like a season 2 now. Definitely has an anime. And this is what they look like in Jumputi Heroes, the manga art inheritance, I guess. I haven't actually seen the manga before, so I don't know if the anime looks way different from the manga, because that does happen. Quite often that does happen. But this is what they look like in the manga, I guess. And hey, pretty cool. 2 characters for them. Then moving on, we have Red Cat Ramen. I haven't read it. I haven't watched it, but I know it has an anime because I've seen it promoted here and there. And we have 2 cats from Red Cat Ramen. Let's go. Then we have Oblivion Battery. We're going to go for a few here that I just don't know. I'm not familiar with. I think this one's about baseball, based on the design of the costumes. And we've got 2 characters from that. Again, this does have an anime. Then we have Chainsaw Man. Now we're getting to more familiar. I know Chainsaw Man. I love Chainsaw Man. This one is interesting because Chainsaw Man, while yes, it did migrate to the Shonen Jump Plus platform, it originally started in Weekly Shonen Jump. And this series, I would say the Shonen Jump Plus aspect of this series is considered to be Part 2 Chainsaw Man. And these characters don't really feature as much in Part 2 Chainsaw Man. Well, you know, some of them do. I don't want to talk too spoilery, but Part 2 sort of has a different focus entirely. And I wouldn't say any of the characters that I heavily associate only with Part 2 have appeared on this screen. So, it's a bit strange. I mean, I guess ultimately, the whole Part 1, Part 2 thing is kind of like Naruto and Naruto Shippuden or Dragon Ball Z. It's not really a thing. Like, if you look at the manga, it's just Chainsaw Man. It's not Chainsaw Man Part 1 and Part 2. It's just Chainsaw Man. And it just goes through chapter after chapter after chapter. So there's no specific split. So I guess if the series has migrated, then anything's fair game. So that's something to consider when we're looking at other series later on. But not a bad base roster. Obviously, there's more characters we expect to show up. A lot of wiggle room for Chainsaw Man. Loads of characters that can be added. But this is a good start. There is a question of, we've got Denji and we've got Chainsaw Man here. Is Chainsaw Man like this game's version of like a limited? Or, you know, like a red poster in OPTC or whatever? Like, is this like the special big draw gacha? And is Denji just like a standard gacha unit? I don't know. That is something we're gonna have to wait and see. But I love to see them. We talked about Chainsaw Man in Weekly Shonen Jump, in Jumputi Heroes, so often, and it's finally here. And Chainsaw Man was one of the big ones we talked about. The other one we used to talk about was Jujutsu Kaisen, which sadly has fallen between the gaps because it never appeared in Jumputi Heroes, and it's not going to appear here. It is not a Jump Plus series, so sorry, Jujutsu Kaisen fans, but it's not happening. Then we have Dan Da Dan. Now, this is a series I would have loved to see in Jumputi, but it was realistically never going to happen. And now it's here in the new game. And again, we have the discussion to be had about this possessed version of Okurin maybe being like a special gacha unit. But we have the standard Okurin and Momo, which is very nice. I love it so much because it is distinctly the manga art style. Like, you can tell it does look different to the way they look in the anime. And I love it. And this is, when I said 50 or 51, there's definitely a solid 50 characters here. 51 is Turbo Granny. Because Turbo Granny does appear on the website, but I couldn't really tell if she was part of Okurin or one of the other characters, like, animations, like celebration animations or special animations or something. So, very possible that that's not playable, but also possible that she is. I have no idea. So, we're going to say 50, but it could be 51 characters. Yeah, very nice lineup. That's good for the base roster. 100% we can see lots more Dan Da Dan characters coming in the future, especially with the popularity of the anime. Then, we have Hokkaido Gals are super adorable. Now, this is a series I have read 2 whole chapters of. Yay for me. It's a lot longer than 2 chapters, so obviously I don't know. I've met Minami. I don't know if I ever met the other girl. But there's actually a notable exclusion here, which is the main character. It's not here. But he is just sort of protagonist-kun. I couldn't even tell you his name. I don't remember anything about him. So if he doesn't get added, I wouldn't be that surprised. And I mean, they've done that in the past. In Jumputi, they released, a series where they just released the popular female characters, and they never bothered with the main character because it's not about them. Or they added the main character later as sort of like a consolation, like as an event unit or something. So, like, it is what it is. I don't know what the room is for, like, expanding this roster any. Because, like I said, I've only read 2 chapters. But I would have said the blonde-haired girl is the one I recognize the most, especially from the promotional material for the series. So, hey, there you go. Then we have 'Tis Time for Torture Princess. I know nothing about this series. I've seen it. I've seen it advertised. I've seen the anime. And seemingly it's quite popular because on the anniversary, there's like the Shonen Jump Plus anniversary, 10th anniversary exhibition website, and she features quite prominently on that, so I think it is quite popular. It is one of their more popular Jump Plus exclusive series. It has an anime, and I've never seen, I don't know anything about it, so I've never seen the character on the left and the character on the right before. I've only seen the princess. Just based on the title, I have no idea what to expect with this series, but I haven't read it, I haven't watched it. Maybe I will at some point. I don't know. Then we have Hell's Paradise Jigokuraku. Now, this is one I have read, and it does have an anime. I think season 2's out this season, and seemingly it's garnered some popularity, which I like to see because it is a great series. It's a very pretty series. Also, obviously slightly darker in places, which I mean is quite nice. Now, the initial picks here, not too surprising. This is fairly standard. Sentai is a bit odd. I probably wouldn't have picked him necessarily. But this is just sort of for a base roster. And again, we don't know for a fact that these base rosters are like locked in. This is just what they've posted on the website. There could be numerous other characters we're not aware of yet. I don't think 50 is necessarily a bad number for a base roster, so maybe it is just this. But it could even be other series in addition to other characters. We just have to wait and see. But yeah, very solid lineup, very solid sprites, Very happy with that. They've captured the art style very well. Very cool. Then next up we have Kaiju number 8. Kaiju number 8 has the biggest roster that they have officially shown us on the website. Quite a lot of characters. I was really surprised, but when I think about it, should it be surprising? Kaiju number 8 has had 2 seasons of anime. It's on season 2 right now. It's had one of those movie releases as well, but it also it appeared in Fortnite. Like, this is a series that they have really been pushing. Like, they really want this series to do well. Like, when it showed up in Fortnite, I was like, what are you... What? Why? Of all the Jump Plus series, I mean, don't get me wrong, I've read it. I'm not fully up to date, but I've read a good chunk of it, and I've watched a good chunk of it. And it's good, but it's not like... Of all the Jump Plus series, it's not like mind-blowing or anything. So it was really surprising to me. And, well, to be honest, pretty solid base roster, I must say. Looking at this base roster, I don't even know who you'd add beyond this. I mean, there are characters, but none of them are like, oh yeah, that's definitely got to be added. Like, other than enemies, which we don't know what's happening with enemies right now, because there's not that many here. Like, when you think about it, if you go back to, like, Jumputi Heroes, if you're adding Naruto, you're obviously going to add Sasuke. If you're adding Goku, you're obviously going to add Vegeta. Like, there are certain big series where the enemy is, like, it's not like, you know, you have Sasuke, you don't necessarily have Madara Uchiha in the base game. But he gets added eventually, sort of thing. But there's no, like, I would say here, so far, there's been no, like, straight-up enemies that stand out as, like, added in the base roster. So, if any of the other kaiju get added, I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. But this is a very nice base roster. You can see the 4 in the bottom right-hand corner were on the, like, they had character pages on the website. So those 4 were there. Mina just showed up somewhere on the website as like a cut-in image. And then the 3 along the top were only in screenshots. So it's a bit strange, but it is what it is. Very nice base roster, though. It might be the case that Kaiju number 8 is like the first event in the game, and that's why they've got more. But again, we don't know. Are they going to do feature festivals in this game? Are they going to do ensemble events mainly? Something completely different? I don't know. I don't know. Then we have Magi Lumiere, which I've watched 1 whole episode of. It's okay. It's pretty okay. It's like they're like magical girls, but they're also like cleaning, I guess. Designers of the characters are great, and they've translated very well to the sprites. These 2 characters are the only ones I know about, pretty much. So, as for whether there'll be an expanded roster beyond this, maybe, probably, but I don't know them, so I couldn't really say. Then we have Lycopin. Lycopin, not only the only series to appear in both games, both in Jumputi Heroes and here, but actually gets an expanded roster. There was only 1 character in Jumputi Heroes, and now we have 2. We have Lycopin and we have Mei. Now, I would say, if we didn't get any more, that wouldn't surprise me. As far as I know, Lycopin never got a proper anime release. It might have had a few, like, animated manga promos, but that's it. So this is the only series in here that's, like, doesn't have an anime. And it's like, okay, cool. I guess it's one of the classics. It's something that moves from Weekly Shonen Jump to Jump Plus at some point. Cool that it's been added. Cool that the roster's been expanded. I don't really care about this series that much. Lycopin is a little gremlin. Like, if you actually read the series, Lycopin is a bit of a wrong'un. So I'm just not too bothered. I'm just not too bothered. Then we have Ron Kamonohashi, the Range Detective. Now, I mentioned before, series where we had the art style present in the previous game because another series from the author was present in the previous game and present in this game, and this is an example of that. This series is written and drawn by Akira Amano, who created Katekyo Hitman Reborn. So you might see some similarity in art style there. I tried to look for characters from Jumputi Heroes where the art style, or at least the character design, was similar enough that I could sort of drag it in here and sort of compare. And this guy, Totomaru, I thought that there would be an image of Suna I could use that would be able to compare, because their faces are sort of similar. But all of the sprites I had of Suna had him like transformed with the flames and with his eyes all lit up and stuff, and he's looking a little bit more serious. So there was no real comparison to be made, unfortunately. But you can kind of see it for yourselves, the art style similarities. And yeah, I haven't actually read this, which is kind of surprising because I loved Katekyo Hitman Reborn. But I think sometimes with a series, it's like, if you really, really like something, and then the author releases something else that's completely unrelated, it's like, sometimes I struggle to get into it, because it's like, yeah, I mean, it's good, but I really like the other thing, and I kind of miss it. I don't know. But, hey, maybe I'll get into it. Maybe this is the time for me to get into it. Perhaps. Then we have Spy Family, which is obviously one of the big titles. It has anime, and it has appeared all over the place in various different cross promotions and stuff. And this base roster makes a lot of sense. These three characters are the three main characters. We could get more in the future, for sure. There's definitely a lot of options. But even like when it appeared in Kotodaman, even though there were other characters added, I think we got like 2 versions of each of these characters. Like that's how important these characters are to the game. And you could argue, like, you could easily have like Lloyd as a parent and Lloyd as a spy. You can have Yor as a parent and Yor as an assassin. Like, you could have those two, and there are options. But I mean, this is, you know, it is what it is. I think that is a very solid base roster. A lot of series did not get as many as 3, so hey, there's that. Then we have Summertime Rendering, a series I'm completely unfamiliar with, but it does have an anime. I know that for sure. I've seen promo for it. And I mean, again, these 3 characters are really the only ones I've seen of it in like promotional material. I think these 2 are sisters, and then this guy's like moved to town or something like that. I don't know, but hey, good for Summertime Rendering fans, I guess. And then a surprising one, we have Chain Soldier. Now I know you can see, you have eyes. You're not a silly person. You can see in massive letters in the top left-hand corner the word slave. So you're like, how is this series called Chain Soldier? That's written in English. That is a localization thing. They changed the name of the series, so it was called something like Slave of the Demon Realm or something like that in Japan. And in the West, they were like, no, we're going to call it Chain Soldier. So that's what it's called, even though the logo does not look like it. And getting a big base roster. I mean, it does have an anime adaptation. I have not read the series. I have not watched the series. I have heard that the anime adaptation was a bit hit and miss in terms of quality. But, I mean, the sprites at least look very cool. Look very nicely detailed, and I mean, this looks fairly true to the art pages I have seen of the series, like the cover arts and stuff, which also looked pretty cool. I don't really know anything about it, so I don't know whether I can say if it deserves 5 base roster or not, but it has 5 base roster. There you go. The only character I really like fully recognize is the, what's her name, Kyoka. She stands out to me as one I've seen in loads of promo arts. The others, less so. But, hey, still, good for any fans of this series. Then, we have Takapi's Original Sin, one I have read. I haven't watched it yet because, well, truth be told, a lot of series, when I see it, you know, as a manga, and I read it as a manga, if the anime looks good, then I want to jump in on that, you know. Like, I read Dan to Dan, and when they announced the anime, I was like, I want to watch that, and I have been watching that. with this one, after reading it, I felt like, I don't need to go through that again. So I'm probably not going to watch that. Not because it was bad, but because it was... what's the word? It was jarring. It was... it was a... It's... I don't know. It's a troubling series. It would be difficult for me to watch it after having read it. But if you haven't read it, I'd highly recommend watching it. Or reading it. Because I think it is an interesting series. It's at least worth experiencing once. Now, the only character added from this is Takopi. There are other characters they could add, but I guess what would their like special animations and attacks be? I don't know, but you could make that argument for other characters in the game. So I'm not too sure. But for now, we just have Takopi. So there he is. Then we have, and I believe this is the last series we have to talk about, 2.5 Dimensional Seduction. Now, seeing these characters initially, I was like, who are these? I don't know these. But they actually have different forms, and you may have seen one of them earlier. One of them is like blonde hair and like an angel costume sort of thing. And the other form, which I mean, I don't know the context of the series. I don't know if it's just them dressing up or they have some sort of transformative powers, or I don't know. But the transform costumes are the ones I've seen in promo arts, and so I'm a lot more familiar with. These two I wasn't too familiar with. So yeah, maybe this is one I should read at some point. I don't know. Based on the title, probably not. So that's it. That's 50 different series, and that's all the characters confirmed. Now, as for other stuff coming in the future, that's where things get a little bit more complicated. We have an example of another game that had Jump Plus characters on it. It's called Yuruto Jump Plus All Stars. Now, if you've never heard me talk about this, that's because this game kind of sucks. Like the gameplay and the art style and more like art direction, it just wasn't for me at all. But it did exist, and I think it was around for at least a year. And in that time, a lot of characters got added to it from series like Chainsaw Man and Dan Dan. Like a number of series you will have seen us show so far. But there were also some series added to this game that have not been announced for Jumble Rush. And so I thought it was worth at least highlighting those ones. So what I have here, and I don't have, images for all of these series and all of these characters. I have there are a few series that were present in the base game that I have images of that are not in Jumble Rush. But as the time went on, as the year went on after release, a bunch of other series got added. Now, looking at this list, I recognize maybe a handful of them. As far as I know, only one of them has an anime, I think, which is World End Harem. Other than that, you may well not know any of these series. And I mean, I'm really not familiar with many of these series. There is one of these series I have read, but not in its entirety, just some of it. And that's about it. So I don't know, other than World End Harem, I don't know, maybe some of these other series do have an anime, but not that I am familiar with. And like I said, this game did have other big series, like your Chainsaw Mans, your Spy Families, your Dan the Dans, all of that stuff. But this is sort of the rest, the deep cuts, as it were. And we know that Jumputi Heroes had a lot of deep cuts. Even Ori Collection had a few deep cuts. But so far for Jumble Rush, all we've seen is like the big hitters. Like the only one you could possibly call like a deep cut is Lycopin, I guess, because it doesn't have an anime. But we know that a lot of the series there have animes, well, almost all of them except Lycopin. So they've at least reached that level of popularity, and it's sort of this point of cross promotion. This game potentially being able to promote those series. But the deep cut stuff like this, how many of these potentially could be added? Honestly, I have no idea. I would like to see some deep cuts here and there, but obviously it's a bit different from Shonen Jump, because a lot of the so-called deep cuts I was at least moderately familiar with. These I don't know them really. Some of them you might recognize. There's one, Akuma no Memu Memu-chan. That one, if you saw an image of it, you might recognize it, because when I saw it, I was like, oh yeah, I think I've seen that. I haven't watched it, I haven't read it, whatever, but I've seen that somewhere before, but I just wasn't familiar with the name. And there's a few others like that, but I feel like some of the series at Jump Plus, and this is where it gets tricky, they have slightly more adult themes than stuff you'd see in Weekly Shonen Jump, you know? And I just don't know how well all of that translates to a fun little game with these bright colours and these characters in their chibi art styles and whatever. So some of these might not work, and especially the ones that don't have anime, I don't know if they're popular enough to get in. But if we are going to get some deep cuts, this is potentially some of the ones we may see, because we know they've already been in a Jump Plus game before. So it's possible. Now, I think we should talk about some of the series that may be eligible. They're on the Jump Plus website. They might be eligible to be included in this game. This is a list of some of those big series, but this section is a little bit tough. Now, I haven't included everything, because everything would do more than take up the entire screen. It'd be crazy. There are so many series on Jump Plus, but what is eligible and what is not? I have chosen this specific list of series because there is a mix here of series that are 100% eligible but might not get in, or 100% eligible and might get in, and series that are questionable, and series that realistically probably aren't eligible. But these are all series that appear on the Jump Plus website, and you'll probably recognize a lot of these. Some of them you won't, but that's fine. But you'll probably recognize a good chunk of these. And we're going to go through each of these, try and make sense of this list. And we're going to talk about why some of them may not be eligible and why some of them might be. So, here we are. So, anything I would say in green, just green, is 100% eligible. That doesn't mean it's guaranteed to get in, but it's 100% eligible to get in. Orange means it's not necessarily a deal breaker, but potentially could be a reason why it might not get in. So we talk here about series being migrated. Take, for example, Ayakashi Triangle. Started in Weekly Shonen Jump, migrated to Shonen Jump Plus. But that's what happened with Chainsaw Man. Chainsaw Man started in Weekly Shonen Jump and it migrated to Shonen Jump Plus. So is that maybe eligible? Potentially. But we don't necessarily know. So orange is sort of, maybe it's a problem, maybe it's not. And red, I would say, is probably a deal breaker. If you see anything in red, potentially or probably a deal breaker. Not necessarily 100%, but some of them more so than others. One of the big ones you can see there, Uma Musume Pretty Derby Blossom, I've listed as very complicated. I mean, this game's, the Uma Musume Pretty Derby game is very popular right now. The global edition is released. Even I have been playing it. Loads of people have been playing it. And the reason why this is complicated is because it's created by a company called Cygames. And Cygames, they made the manga for the most part. So there's loads of different spin-off manga of this series that are published by them. But there is one, Pretty Derby Blossom, is published on Shonen Jump Plus exclusively. I have no idea why, but I have a feeling based on the fact that they already have a mobile game out. Uma Musume Pretty Derby is already out. both in Japan and globally, I have a feeling that they would not be particularly receptive to the idea of their characters appearing in another mobile game, another gacha game. So I just can't see that happening, and I think that basically falls under the category of the original series is not a Shueisha or Shonen Jump property, or Shonen Jump Plus property, so I can't see it being added. So for like the rest of this list, you know, we know that a lot of the series announced for Jumble Plus so far have an anime. So anything on this list that's maybe slightly less popular or slightly older, it might not even be up for consideration. We don't know. Like I mentioned Ayakashi Triangle, it does have an anime. It was on Shonen Jump Plus, but you know, it's kind of gone now, and I kind of don't know if the devs necessarily would even consider it. I'm not too sure. I think, you know, looking through these, there's definitely some possibilities that I'd really love to see. That I think you can see that little bit of red text. That's a deal breaker. I don't think that's good. You know, Oshinoko, I don't think it's coming. Young Jump Simulpub, yeah, I don't think that's coming to the game. Same with the 100 Girlfriends, which 100 Girlfriends would be incredible in this game. With the art style and with the sprites, it would be incredible. But again, it's not a Shonen Jump Plus exclusive title, so I don't think it's going to be eligible. Even though every chapter was published on the Shonen Jump Plus website, it was also published elsewhere. It was published in a magazine, so it probably doesn't count. Now, as for top picks from this list, things that I think are definitely coming, I think, you know, You and I Are Polar Opposites is probably number one out of all of these. It's a Shonen Jump Plus exclusive. It has an anime, and to me, that one is just a no-brainer. And I mean, you will have seen on the previous screen, I had an image from that series and also from Kindergarten Wars. Now, those images were taken from the Shonen Jump Plus 10-year anniversary celebration exhibition website, and there's a load of big hitters on that website. You know, there's Spy Family, there's Dan Da Dan, there's Kaiju number 8. And those two are right up there with those series. So for me, I think those two are definitely big picks. As I said before, anything with any red on it is a no-go. And Orange, I hope Orange is not a deal breaker. But take, for example, My Hero Academia Vigilantes. Like, it would be weird to add that and not add anything from My Hero Academia. But My Hero Academia is not a Shonen Jump Plus series. So, like, it's an awkward situation. I think, basically, you know, there was a couple more on here that I had, like, for example, there was Fire Emblem. There was a Fire Emblem one. But obviously, that's based on the Fire Emblem game, and it's a Nintendo property. It's not going to happen. So, this all looks complicated, but I think if you boil it down to just the green ones, all of those are fine. You know, Fire Punch could get added. I think Astro Lost in Space is potentially... It's a bit older, but it has an anime. It's a Shonen Jump Plus exclusive. Definitely a possibility, right? And yeah, there's a lot of... One of them, Girl Meets Rock, is a Shonen Jump Plus exclusive. It's actually a remake of another series called Girl Meets Rock. And that series was not on Shonen Jump Plus. So I don't know where that falls. Even though it has got red on it, it might be a green. I'm not sure. But yeah, just lots of options here. And there's loads more options I haven't included. But I just picked out some that I thought would give us an idea of what works and what doesn't work. What's interesting is a series like Otome no Teikoku, which I believe is English title is Virgin's Empire or something like that. I've read a few chapters of it. A highly inappropriate manga. But it's in orange because it is a Shonen Jump Plus series now. It's appeared in 2 other magazines, but it doesn't appear in any magazines anymore. And it is ongoing in Shonen Jump Plus. But would they even add something like that? Because like I said, highly inappropriate series. Would it necessarily be added to the game? I don't know. I don't know. But I like this list because it kind of shows some variation. Deadpool Samurai doesn't have any red on it, but realistically should, because let's be real, Marvel are not letting anything fun get added to the game. Let's not mess about. So it's complicated. It's a complicated list, and you know, ultimately what it does boil down to is if it's just green on here, that is high potential, could be added. Anything else? Probably not. Who knows? But the final thing I want to cover before we scurry away is we do actually have some footage of the game. They publish on the website. Now, first things first, we have some actual gameplay. Now you can see here, the game is described as a comic tower defense, but in a couple of places they do actually describe it as tower offense. And it's kind of both. The enemy has a tower and you have a tower. You need to defend your tower, you need to destroy their tower. And that's exactly what's happening in this footage. They are destroying the enemy tower. You need to get past the enemy lines, get to the tower, destroy it. It's got its own HP bar. And this is your team. You have a team of 10 characters, and that's what you're trying to do. Now, one thing you might notice is there's actually 5 types in this game. It has the same standard color wheel that we had in Jumputi Heroes. Red beats green, green beats yellow, yellow beats blue, blue beats red. But there is also white, which is in the middle, and it seems to have no type advantage or disadvantage. So you can see some examples of the characters on the screen there. You got Chainsaw Man as a yellow, you got Okurin as a blue, Kaiju number 8 as a green, Gabi Maru is a red, and down the bottom you can see Anya is a white. What that necessarily means, considering the team is very varied in terms of team comp, are we going to be trying to make full teams of all one color? I don't know. Are there like leader skills involved? It doesn't really look like it, but maybe. How do the characters like stats and special abilities interact? I don't know. But here is an example of a team that they're using, and yeah, it's very clear that while the animations of the characters are very Jumputi inspired, the UI is very different. Like lots of elements of the UI are very different. And we're going to see here an example of a special attack, which I would also say some inspiration from Jumputi, but actually still quite different. We're going to see Chainsaw Man's ultimate attack, and he's using it against the Bat Demon or whatever. And it's sort of the initial kind, like it feels Jumputi Hero inspired. Like it's very similar, but somehow it feels less flashy in this context. I don't know. But yes, in addition to what I was saying before about types, we also have classes. Trying to make sense of these classes, I think we have like a special class, a DPS class, some sort of tank class, some sort of buffer class, and a healer class. So I guess that will also play into our team comp, and it also looks like stages are time based rather than. Well, I mean, I guess if you die, if your base gets destroyed, then you lose, and you have to beat their base to win. But you also have to do it within a time limit. So, wait, let me just double check. Is that timer going down or up? That timer's going up. So I don't know about the time-based thing. What is the time limit? I don't know. It's kind of hard for me to say. But it has an auto button. It has a boost speed button. So that's gives you an idea of what kind of game this is going to be. And obviously there is a rush bar, and the rush bar, I'm guessing, allows you to do the rush attack that we saw in the trailer, where all the characters attack at once. But we don't have any footage of that here. But if you watch the trailer again, you'll see that. And then we get a look at some of the characters in the game. Now, we have star ratings and rarities. I'm guessing the star ratings are something to do with like their special attack level, because the star ratings don't necessarily indicate anything other than that on this screen. And all these characters are level 1, so that doesn't really tell us anything either. But we have, you know, rare, super rare, super rare, and ultra rare. But we don't. Based on this character selection, it's kind of hard for me to say whether that's necessarily like a hard and fast thing, like it used to be in some games. Like think about it like this, right? Is UR like the top, and if a character comes out of UR, they are UR, and that's that? Or is it like characters can come out of rare, and I can upgrade it to SR, SSR, and then UR? In which case, what is the signifier as to what's a special gacha unit and what's a standard gacha unit? We don't really know yet. We used to have grades in Jumputi Heroes. Like, any character could get 5-star, 6-star, but not any character, I think. But almost every character could get 5-star, 6-star. But their grade was sort of what's important. Are they event units? Are they hero units? Are they limited? Are they Muso? So on and so forth. So, I don't know if there's some sort of indicator here for that. Not too sure. But here's a look at some of the URs, some of the SSRs, the SRs, and there's even a rare down the bottom there. So I'm guessing some characters... I'm assuming that all characters can be upgraded to UR based on what I'm seeing here. And it's just that, you know, who are you going to want to upgrade? That's up to you. But yeah, that's just a quick look at the party screen, building up a party of 10. And then you can see at the top, there's some other UI elements. It looks like, based on my meager knowledge of the game, something that has become very popular in recent years, they have split free currency and paid currency into two separate sections. So there's definitely going to be specific banners that use the paid currency. That is something that is so common in gacha games now. It was less common when Jumputi started. But yeah, they'll have a banner that's like, oh, you know, you get a great deal, but you got to pay. It's got to be paid gems, not the free ones we gave you. So that's why those are split up there. And I think I've talked about basically everything I can talk about. I mean, it's a very short trailer. There's not that much information on the website, so there's not a lot to go off. We are going to get more information soon. I think there's like a Bandai showcase coming out, but you know, ultimately the game says it's coming out in 2025. So we're going to get some more info before the end of 2025. Will I play this game? Will I fully cover this game? I honestly, I have no idea. Probably I can't bring myself to cover it in the same way I cover Jumputi Heroes. But the odd video here and there, you know, maybe some polls or whatever. Anything's possible. But that's going to do it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know your thoughts in the comments on this game. Are you going to play it? Is the gameplay a deal breaker? I feel like it might be for a lot of people. It might even be for me. I'm not too sure. But the sprites at least look cool. And just let me know your thoughts in the comments if you got this far in the video. And yeah, that's it for today. So I'll see you all next time.